Well, let's look at some old stats here. Some team stats, individual stats for the Oregon Ducks. Dante Moore, 13 of 21, 112 yards, no touchdowns, and one pick. Again, it looked very early, first drive, 3 straight incompletions, the ball slipping out of people's hand. It just looked like it was going to be damn near impossible to throw the ball out there until it was the final drive when they needed to. And he threw for, I believe it was 54 yards in that final drive that led them to the game-winning field goal, including, that pass just was the absolute perfect pocket right through the arms of the Iowa defender. Could not believe, again, after what we had seen, it very much reminded me of the Indiana game, where it was when Indiana took the lead 27-20. I was like, well, I haven't seen anything out of this Oregon offense, especially throwing the ball today, that's going to lead me to believe that we're just going to go right down the field and be able to tie this game.
Yeah.
And then when they needed to make a play, and boy, when Dante Moore needed to make a play and a pass, he stepped up and delivered that dot to Malik Benson for 24 yards that put them on the Iowa 27. And then a couple plays later, we're able to kick in that field goal. That was just absolute clutch for Dante Moore in that final possession there.
That was a really nice connection to see, and resilience for sure. Kind of maturity from Dante Moore, that we're past kind of the Heisman talk and wondering if he's going to be there in New York, but we still are really waiting to see that development, that fighting through an environment here in college that you haven't really seen him succeed in yet. So yeah, credit to him for sure. But I don't think the coaching staff put him in the best position to succeed the entire game. For instance, throwing the ball 3 times, all 3 downs to open your first drive with the rain going, that is, to me, such a golden opportunity, Joe, that you have great field position. I think they started near midfield, couldn't get a yard. That was so frustrating, and that was, I think, the start of well, great, this is going to be another crappy game, and Oregon's probably going to lose. And I know that could just be oh, we're going to take a shot early on. Maybe they won't notice. Those are their scripted attempts to start the game, but it was so frustrating. Obviously, don't throw the ball 3 times, but maybe that's why they did it. They didn't think that Iowa would actually expect them to do the obvious not. I don't know. It was just frustrating. So credit to Dante Moore, but didn't like what Will Stein was doing all day today.
Rushing the ball, the Oregon Ducks, Noah Whittington, 17 carries, 118 yards. Jordan Davison, 8 carries, 52 yards. Dante Moore, 4 for 46, with a large chunk of that, 49 of them, coming on that one run. And Dier Hill Jr., 7 carries for 45 yards and 1 touchdown. But these are their averages in this game. 6.9 for Noah Whittington, who before this game had the 3rd best yards per carry average in the country. Jordan Davison, 6.5 yards per carry. Dante Moore, 11.5. Dier Hill Jr., 6.4 for 7.3 yards per carry, which, again, I said this at the beginning of the broadcast, 3.3 yards per carry. That's how much Iowa was giving up this year going into this game. I think that was, either the best in the country, top 5. I'd have to look it up. But, you're giving up 3.3 yards a clip, and then Oregon comes in and doubles that and then some. Huge game, not just by the running backs, but that is by the offensive line right there.
Definitely the reason why they won the game. And after some questions that we had about the offensive line, Joe, I think you saw it up close when it was just messy and wet down at Autzen Stadium. Didn't look really that great against Wisconsin. I had some questions about the top guy. I would say Lolu, not really concerning me, but Prayon, I feel like he's missed some key blocks at some points, and it just, I don't know, didn't make it easy for Oregon in that Wisconsin matchup. But today, they clicked, and big credit to them, and they did what they've done for the last decade and a half plus, man. They leaned on the run, and they were super successful, and it's just nice to be positive. It is really nice when Oregon gets that signature part of their win.
Receiving, Jamari Johnson, the Louisville transfer. Obviously, Sadiq has been more of the focus as far as pass-catching tight end, but Jamari Johnson leading things today, 4 catches, 436 yards. Malik Benson, 2 for 29. Jeremiah McClellan, 2 for 14. Noah Whittington, 2 for 4. Gary Bryant Jr., 1 for 22. He was then taken out of the game after that catch because it looked like he got a lower leg injury there, got rolled up on as he made the catch. Cooper Perry, 1 for 4. Justice Lowe, 1 for 3. So, again, we saw very early that it was going to be tough to throw the ball. Didn't seem like it was too tough to throw the ball in those final two possessions, one for Iowa and Oregon. Listen, Dante Moore, 112, Mark Gronowski, 138. I want to say that probably 70% of the passing yards came in the final two possessions of the game, it felt like.
Absolutely. It was, man, those were some good balls, and I think it was, I don't know if it is.
Those were good balls, Jordan.
Absolutely. Like in the rain is what I'm trying to say. And I don't know if Dante Moore was throwing in like the heavy rain at that point, because the rain had stopped, I think, at one point in the fourth quarter when Oregon had the ball, and it was, I guess it looked a little different for them at that point because, they were able to complete those big passes. But it was obvious that they were missing Kenyon Sadiq. It was obvious they were missing Malik Benson. Big names that were out today, and that's why you see Jamari.
Decorian Moore, you mean. Malik Benson.
Oh, sorry. Gosh darn it. No, my bad. I don't know why I keep screwing them up. I'm just off today. I'm sick. My bad. But one thing, though, Cooper Perry, guys like that out there, I don't want to nitpick, but I feel like that interception from Dante Moore.
I feel like you've said that like 8 times already.
Yeah, you're right, and I am, and that's because I'm scared going into the final month of the season and the college football playoff because of these little nitpicky things, whether or not Oregon's going to be actually able to win. If a guy like Cooper Perry, who doesn't have much experience, is in, that interception, I don't want to put fully on Dante Moore when he was tossed into the end zone. Cooper Perry at that point has got to be aware, at least to try to turn around, if not to catch it, to play defensive back at that point, to knock it down. A more experienced receiver would do that. So there were definitely obvious points where they were missing big-name receivers today, and I think that's probably what cost him a touchdown or two and maybe makes me so nervous about this 18-16 win.
On the defensive side, for the Oregon Ducks, we had Jerry Mixon, 9 solo tackles today, 13 total, 1 for a loss. The 2 sacks came from Tatum Tuioti, who had 9 tackles and 5 solo. Bryce Better had the other sack, 8 tackles, 5 of them being solo. And then we had the big turnover that happened, the forced fumble by Brandon Finney, who has just been an absolutely unreal freshman this year for the Ducks on the outside, and then just getting his nose in there in a dirty, grinded out game, being able to force a fumble, which was pivotal because during that drive, they looked like they were going to be scoring some points. That was one of their better drives of the day. And for the Ducks to get that turnover, and as you mentioned, Dan, to call the timeout and be like, hey, you need to look at this. And thank God they did, because that ball was out and it ended up being the Ducks' ball, and it ended up going Oregon's way on that possession. But those are some individual stats for the game. Ducks had 373 total yards to Iowa's 278, 112 passing yards to 138 for Iowa. Rushing, though, the big difference in this one, 261 rushing yards for Oregon, 140 for Iowa, 5 penalties for 57 for Oregon. Iowa, just the 1 penalty on that punt where the snap went over his head. That led to a safety. Oregon, 3 for 10 on 3rd downs, 5 for 13, Iowa was. 4th down, 3 for 4, Iowa in this game. Average yards per play, 6.5 Oregon, 4.6. And that is one of the things that this game is that Oregon felt like they were the better team throughout this game. I mean, they led the majority of the game. Yeah. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, they led up until that final touchdown by Iowa to take the lead. So they literally led 98% of this game. So that was one of the things, at the end there where I was getting frustrated and feeling like that was going to be a loss for Oregon was they felt like they were the better team all game long. Similar to like the Penn State game where it was like, how is Penn State back in this? Oregon has been the better team all game. And then this one drive, this one moment in the fourth quarter where Iowa's offense looks like a competent offense. They're completing huge chunk plays. They're getting big plays downfield, wide open guys down the field. And so that was the frustrating part, is that even though I've been saying to you and Rashad and Sports Saturday is that maybe prepare yourself mentally for an Oregon Ducks loss, this one would have been a tough one to swallow, considering that they were seemingly in control offensively and defensively, or at least the better team offensively all game long. In control despite giving up a couple of opportunities to score, right? That interception we were just talking about that I don't think is completely Dante Moore's fault. They had just gotten the safety in the first quarter at that point. That could have been, a nice cleat on the throat for Oregon over Iowa. That didn't happen. And then when they were at least going to be, it was a really nice drive, marching down to
probably be guaranteed at least a field goal or looking towards a touchdown when that holding call set them back 10 yards, put them out of field goal range, and at that point, they couldn't do anything, had to punt the damn ball away. It was really frustrating. Yeah, you talk about them being in control. There were a couple of points. They really had the opportunity to just put the nail in the coffin, and they couldn't do it. But still, credit, they eked it out, man.